I worked double shifts at the hospital for 15 years to give my son everything. I missed birthdays, I missed holidays. I gave up everything so he would never feel abandoned. Then one Thursday afternoon, he sat across from me at my own kitchen table, slid a brochure across to me and told me it was time to go. What he didn't know was that I had been watching him for 2 years, writing everything down and waiting. My name is Margaret Holloway, I'm 67-year-old, and this is my story. I raised my son with everything I had, after his father walked out when he was 7 years old. It was just the two of us. Missed the small, quiet moments other mothers took for granted. Also, he could have everything he needed. School fees, university, his first car, the deposit on his first apartment. I gave until there was nothing left to give, and I did it gladly, because he was my son. Because I believed that what you pour into your children eventually comes back to you. I was wrong. It started slowly the way these things always do. My son married a woman named Tessa 3 years ago. I tried to like her, I genuinely tried. But from the very first Sunday dinner, something felt off. The way she looked at my house. Not at the walls or the furniture, at the square footage, at the neighborhood, and at the value. Within 6 months of their wedding, my son stopped visiting alone. Within a year, he stopped visiting at all unless Tessa was with him. And every visit ended the same way. Subtle comments about how big the house was for one person, how much maintenance it must require, how much easier my life would be somewhere smaller. Somewhere managed, somewhere with people to look after me. I listened, smiled politely, and said nothing. The conversation happened on a Thursday afternoon in October last year. My son sat across from me at my own kitchen table. Tessa, his wife, sat beside him. Neither of them looked me in the eye for the first few minutes. Then my son cleared his throat. "Mom, we've been thinking." I folded my hands in my lap. "There's a very nice facility about 40 minutes from here," Tessa said. She slid a brochure across the table like she was presenting a business proposal. "It has gardens, activities, medical staff on site." I looked at the brochure, then at my son. "You want to put me in a home," I said quietly. He shifted in his seat. "We want you to be taken care of properly." "I am taken care of properly," I said. "In my own home." "Mom, this conversation is over," I said. And I stood up and walked to the kitchen. But the conversation was not over. 2 weeks later, my son came back alone. This time with documents, power of attorney papers, prepared by a lawyer I had never met. "It's just a precaution," he said, "in case something happens to you." I looked at those papers for a long time. Then I looked at my son, the boy I had carried through every hard year of his life, and I saw something I had never seen before. A stranger. I signed nothing. What happened next moved faster than I expected. My son contacted my doctor claiming I was showing signs of confusion. He contacted social services with the same story. He spoke to my neighbors asking if they had noticed anything concerning. He was building a case. Quietly, carefully, the same way I had once built a life for him. 3 months after that kitchen conversation, a social worker came to assess me. My son had arranged it without telling me. I was declared capable of making my own decisions. But the pressure didn't stop. Phone calls, visits, documents left on my table. Until one evening I was so exhausted from fighting that I made the worst decision of my life. I signed. The nursing home was not unpleasant. Clean rooms, friendly staff, gardens exactly like the brochure promised. But it was not my home. And 6 weeks after I arrived, I found out my son had listed my house for sale. My house, the house I had paid for alone. The house I had maintained alone for 30 years. The house where I raised him. Listed. Without my knowledge, without my permission. Using the power of attorney I had signed under exhaustion and pressure. I sat in my small room that evening and I made a decision. My son had forgotten one thing. Several things, actually. He forgot that I had a younger sister who was a property lawyer. He forgot that I had kept every financial document from the last 30 years in a fireproof box he didn't know existed. He forgot that the power of attorney he had obtained had been signed under duress. And he forgot that I had known about his secret for 2 years. The business he had registered in Tessa's maiden name, using money he had borrowed from my account without asking. $40,000. Transferred in small amounts over 18 months. Thinking I wouldn't notice, thinking I was already too old to pay attention. My sister arrived at the nursing home on a Tuesday morning with a colleague. By Thursday, the house sale had been frozen by court order. By the following week, the power of attorney was under legal review. And when my son's lawyer finally saw the evidence my sister had compiled, the forged declarations, the pressure campaign documented in my own diary I had been keeping for months, the unauthorized transfers from my account, his lawyer quietly advised him to settle. The settlement hearing was held on a gray Monday morning. My son walked in looking like a man who hadn't slept in weeks. Tessa sat beside him. Neither of them looked at me when I entered. I sat across the table from them. Calm, quiet, patient. The same way I had been patient for 30 years of raising a son who forgot where he came from. My sister placed the documents on the table one by one, each one landing like a quiet verdict. By the end of that meeting, the house was returned to my name. The $40,000 was to be repaid in full. The power of attorney was revoked permanently. And my son sat across from me with nothing left to negotiate with. He tried to speak as we stood to leave. Mom, don't, I said quietly. Not with anger, not with tears, just with the calm of a woman who had already grieved the son she thought she had. I picked up my bag, walked to the door, and paused with my hand on the frame. I worked double shifts for 15 years, I said without turning around. So you would never have to feel abandoned. I let that sit in the room, then I walked out. I moved back into my house 3 weeks later. My sister helped me change the locks. My son has called 4 times since then. I haven't answered, not because I hate him, but because some doors, once closed properly, are better left that way. The child you sacrifice everything for is not always the adult who will honor that sacrifice. But that is never a reflection of your worth. It is always a reflection of theirs. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories. Thank you.